Welcome to this actually fifth episode of the Future of HR with Jobylon. And my name, as you can see, is Karin Bergström, working as Head of People and Culture at Jobylon. And I'm jumping in for my colleague Sofia today, which I'm actually, sorry Sofia, but I'm happy that I'm jumping in here because we're going to talk about a lot of interesting topics today. We're going to dig deeper down into the most crucial parts of recruitment and how we can best navigate and leverage the talent shortage. And I'm also extra happy to jump in for Sofia because we have an amazing guest this week. Is drumroll, no one other than Linnea Bywall, Head of People and Operations at Alva Labs. Welcome, Linnea. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, thank you. Lunch in the belly, excited for the topic, and just pumped to share some thoughts with you.
Yeah, happy to hear that. And first of all, before we dig into this very interesting topic, I thought if you could share, a bit about yourself, Alva Labs.
Of course. So my name is Linnea. I'm a licensed psychologist, actually, that ended up working in HR and recruitment. So I'm the head of people at Alva. I've been working at Alva for 3 years, but I've been working with both like recruitment, leadership development in some ways and forms since 2013. So time flies. And if you don't know what Alva is a platform for candidate assessment. So we help companies be more accurate and fair in their hiring.
Yes, and I can just say, if I'm allowed to say that, that I really love Alva and use it every day at Jobylon, actually. So I'm a happy customer. And to kick this session off, the first question I had for today that I thought we could discuss, Linnea, is to take it from the top, the whole main topic, like, what do you believe that the candidate shortage stems from? Like, do you really think there's a lack of talent out there?
I think this is really interesting. And I think everyone that works in recruitment have experienced that it is harder to attract talent, to find talent at the moment. And I mean, there's always going to be like a fluctuation on the market. A couple of years ago, it was more the recruiters market and there was a surplus of candidates. Now it's, changed to the other way around, where there's more job openings than there are candidates available. I think we have experienced like an all-time high in the Nordics of available job openings. I think last time I checked, it was like 10 million job openings in the US.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of this is probably due to like more macro factors. The economic growth, a lot of companies or more companies going through like hyper growth and recruiting more so than before. And I think this has created a situation where more companies also bring in recruitment to their like in-house rather than using external recruiters, which means that more recruiters are like bombarding candidates with emails on LinkedIn. So I think there's one side of it that's like there's more job openings, but there's also more candidates that are no longer interested in responding because they have, that was the 10th email I got this week. And also candidates actually like reevaluating, ways of working during the pandemic. I don't want to do this like 9 to 5 thingy. I want to control my own, work life more. But what's interesting then is like, even if there are a lot of candidates that are experiencing this like vast outreach from recruiters and they're super popular, there's still a big chunk of the market that's very much underserved. So the fact that like, is there a talent shortage or not? I'm not so sure. It depends on how we define talent. Because what's really interesting here is like factors such as like age, gender, ethnicity still really like make a big difference if you are seen as a talent or not. So like the traditional way of viewing talent has been reading a CV. There's some fancy university. There's some cool logos. There's a fancy title, and that's how you know if someone is a talent. Or like by recruiting through your own network, people that are similar to you are viewed as talents. But like, for instance, women as a group have to send in 30% more applications than men. People, I know, yeah.
Like when you hear that number, like what?
And this is in a world where a lot of companies are really working towards like, oh, we want diversity, we want to hire more women, and they're actively working towards that. And still we see this happening. People of color have to send in 50% more applications than white. If you're older, when you pass 40, you're not as interesting anymore, despite recruiters wanting like a lot of experience, but apparently not too much experience. So there is this like large group of candidates that aren't taking part of the market that is so underserved with talent. So I think if we view talent more as like soft skills, who the person actually is, not only will that like open up a talent pool, it can also help us reaching our like diversity goals in a much quicker and more like sufficient way.
That's first of all, insane to hear those numbers that you just mentioned, and super interesting because as you said, like, what is talent really? We need to look at how we view talents today. And I think it's also, of course, it's sad to hear those numbers because like today I thought, we do not look at personal CVs and personal letters. That's my like own personal opinion. Like that is not enough. And I think it's of course, as you're talking about, like a win-win solution for everyone, both talents and employers. I think we need to, I don't know if it's possible to like direct translate that from like Swedish to English, but like these diversity glasses, like to those diversity glasses on when you do the recruitment, I think is super crucial, and also to do that like each and every step of the process. Because I think it's easy to maybe have that in mind. For example, at Jobylon, we see a lot of customers doing a great job when it comes to maybe not even having a CV when you apply. It's maybe just like screening questions or things like that, and that is great. But I think it's not enough. You have to do it, throughout the whole process, and never take those glasses off. And I think also when you look back, I mean, CV, personal letter, like I understand several years ago that was what you had to look.
Sure.
That was your tool to actually see, is this a good candidate or not? But today, again, relating to the numbers you just mentioned, like we have other tools, like Alva Labs, like you have tests and you have these tools to help you, because we're all human beings. We will be biased. We just have to admit that. Like, how can we use these tools to look beyond our unconscious bias? I think that will make it easier for everyone.
And I think it's, as you mentioned, like there is a big gap between like theory and practice here, where we have a lot of like evidence of what tools actually help us find talent, but in reality, a large chunk of organizations are still using CVs and cover letter that we, from research know is helping us sort out a lot of talent and screen in people that are similar to us. So this, it goes beyond just the recruitment process, because like the numbers are really sad when it comes to recruiting. If you have like a last name that stands out from the norm, you have approximately like 60% less chance to get a call back to an interview. But the same pattern exists even like when you are employed. So say women as a group are seen as like riskier to promote. Women as a group tend to get lower potential ratings than their male counterparts. even when they're outperforming their male counterparts. And we're sitting here wondering, like, why aren't there any women in, the boardrooms? Because they don't get the chance.
Yeah.
And it's same thing with like now hybrid and how that works. There is also evidence that people that work remotely more tend to be, have a harder time to get promoted. And that link is actually broken when they come into the office. So it's not that, it's the bad people that work remote. It's more like out of sight, out of mind. So we tend to assess people in a way that doesn't help us make good decisions. And that goes for like as you said, like in several steps of the recruitment process, but it's also true for once you have your talent on board.
Yeah, the whole employee funnel or experience. Yeah. And talking about this topic, like, what do you think the biggest road bumps for like reopening businesses trying to attract the right talents today post pandemic? About that.
It's difficult. I definitely think that hybrid is a must. You can either go like fully remote, and that will attract certain candidates. You risk losing some of them, but like believing that the work life will go back to fully on site, I think you're gonna be working uphill if you want to attract the best talent. Especially if you do remote or hybrid, you can actually hire from outside of your direct city or country. So I think hybrid is going to be a must, but it's also about like making hybrid work, because it's not just like, hey, we're a hybrid company and then you're done. But I think we need to make sure that we communicate in a way that works in hybrid, that we document stuff, and that we actually learn how to work asynchronously. Because otherwise, like attracting the right talent just by saying like, oh yeah, you can work from wherever, and then not actually offer that opportunity will just, you will lose talent once they've onboarded. So we need to make that whole ways of working. I think we need to kick that up a notch, because it is a very like different way. Before, everyone was at the office and a lot of like informal decisions were made at the coffee machine. And it's one thing when everyone's remote, because then everything have to happen via like documentation. But when this like hybrid world where some people are at the office and they get some information, and if you're remote, you and me talked just the other day, like how does the benefit package look? Is it different? Is it the same? I think you really, really need to think about like the full cycle here.
Definitely. And I think, as you're saying, like this remote setup is definitely like here to stay. And I think at Jobylon, I think similar to Alva, like before COVID, we had a very remote setup. So for us, I think maybe that it was pretty smooth for us to just continue on that path. And I think also like a different part of this, like when we talk at Jobylon about this whole remote setup is not only about like physically, like, okay, can you work from the office or not? It's also about like, how can you create a culture where everyone feels involved, and is that culture always created by the coffee machine? Like the classical scenario when you say hi to your colleagues in the lunch, like, is that a necessity for you to be able to create and like maintain a good culture? Like at Jobylon, I think, we definitely believe that is not it. You can actually create a culture and maintain that in the digital office as well. But do you have any like talking about this like ways of communicating when it's a hybrid? Like, have you found any good tips or tricks? Like,
we're still learning, like most others. But the same thing as you, we were quite prepared to go remote or hybrid even before the pandemic. It's simply because we never believed in like an 8 to 5 ways of working, anyways. But I think we could not live without Slack. We could not live without the Notion, a tool where you can document playbooks, ways of working, everything kind of like an internal network. And And then I think something that me and like my people team have talked a lot about is about how do we create, build values. And one way that we're now trying out, like value of the month, where we in Slack have a dedicated group where we lift good examples, where we let the employees share their example, where we ask how are you going to do it, and then follow up, how did you do things. We do a lot of like lunch and learns on like vision. I think when your CEO is sick of repeating like strategy and vision, then you're starting to get close to how often they need to repeat it. Especially in like hypergrowth and when a lot of new people joining. So I think like documentation, finding ways to interact with individuals in like both a digital and live way, whatever like works. And not forgetting, I mean, now tomorrow we're actually having like a company event. Well, then we need to fly people in. Otherwise it needs to be virtual because, it's either or to some extent.
Yeah. And I think as we talked about in the beginning here, like today we have these tools. It's just that you maybe need to find the right ones for your organization. And it could be, as you said, like Slack, it could be small things like at Jobylon, we have this like donut app where you get like connected with a colleague just to try to create this coffee session that may sound like a small thing, but like for me personally, like that's where I get to know the colleagues in the different countries working. And also I know one thing that you and I, Linnea, talked about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about like working remote, it is actually like a benefit. Of course, depending on if you want to work remote or not, but like talking about that, like how far do you think companies should go in terms of perks to meet these expectations of talents out there? Like, is there such a thing like a all-in-one solution?
I think this is like really, really difficult and super critical, like when it comes to like employer branding and attracting talent and then keeping talent. So, and to some extent, like if you do recruitment right, meaning you hire for like actual talent, meaning soft skills, not what it says on it like a CV, you will rather end up with like a very diverse workforce. In like age, gender, background, ethnicity, and so forth. Just like as an example, we're 70 plus employees at Alva. I think we represent 18 or 19 different countries. And I think like 40% are like non-Swedes. We're 44% women. And the rest men. And it's not like we necessarily tried to do that in the recruitment process. It happened because we, worked in a more objective, structured way and with other methods than CV. But that comes with then a challenge because if you have this like diverse workforce, I think it's going to be difficult to finding like, because you can't give out all the benefits. If I had all the money in the world, it would be super easy. Because then, you can have like high salaries and long vacations and perks A, B, and C. But you have to, to some extent limit it so that it's reasonable. The way that we have approached it, I think, is really committing to something. We can't do everything. So like picking the cherries that we believe in and that we want to showcase. For us, that has been, like, for instance, 7-week vacation. So every employee has 35 days of vacation. In Sweden, that raises an eyebrow. I can say when we hire in UK, it raised a lot of eyebrows. But we decided to but we're going to ship the Swedish model when it comes to vacation. We have settled on on-market salaries. So we do yearly external benchmarks to make sure that we are actually on market for all the different roles. That means that some roles will get salary promotions on a yearly basis, based on if the market has increased, their market value has increased, and therefore they might get a higher salary increase than if they would just oh, you're doing a good job. I think we really wanted to make a big deal out of you shouldn't have to go to another company just to make more money. So that was also one of those things that we try to be proactive in, like informing about in the hiring process. We have like a page for like, these are our benefits, where we have, try to be as clear as possible, because hopefully then we can, show our, AVP, but also track the right candidates where that is suitable. And then we are okay with missing some candidates, because if someone wants benefit X and we don't have that, I can't just start giving that out to people. We have really, settled on that it's like same for everyone and this is what it is. And we're not going to just overpay because that specific candidate was awesome. So I think it kind of boils down to settling on your like benefit package, and then settling on your people strategy. Who is it that we want to hire? Who is it that we want to keep? Having that as like a guiding star, so you're not just running around in the dark, taking it case by case. Because if you do that, you're going to eventually run into problems down the road when you have grown. The larger you get, the more like standardized, unfortunately, things have to be. So we try to do that like early on. So I don't think there's a one size fits all, but you either pay a lot and then that works for most people, or you commit to a people strategy and are open with the fact that I will lose these types of candidates, and I'm fine with that because I have committed to this.
Yeah.
So I think it's either or, not like hoping for luck is harder.
It's super interesting, as you say, like most companies today, like you can't compete with, I don't know, Google, Spotify when it comes to salaries, but it's not just salaries, like you're talking about like other benefits. And again, I think about like the whole employee experience and like being consistent. I think, as you mentioned, with having these people strategy, you start with looking at, okay, what is our vision as a company? Like, what type of employees do we want to attract? And then like start from there. And I think that makes it so much easier, both when it comes to attracting talents, but also retaining talents, because it's like so much more transparent, and you think about the whole employee journey like a customer journey, like there's no surprises along the way, and everything is super clear. So I think with setting a people strategy, like you have a lot to win, and just be super clear with your message along the whole way. So and
being like just being transparent of you can't win them all, and that's going to be okay. But again, like going back to like how you define talent for us at Alva might not be the same as for the next company. But the important thing is that most company view talent the same way. And if you can view talent differently, you will have the upper hand. Because you can find those like hidden gems and attract different talent that aren't as, spoiled, I guess, with offers, and still get great people on board that can do like wonders. But everyone doesn't have to come from that same cool university and worked at X company.
It's super interesting, and again, something to keep in mind when you not only work with recruitment, but also when someone is on board, started working at your company. And another question I had, if you like, try to now 4 minutes left, try to like boil this down. You said a lot of interesting things here, but like if you would summarize it, like what are your best strategies or like concrete tips to recruiters out there who are currently like reconstructing the offer to meet talent priorities?
I'm very good. I'm gonna try to summarize and be as clear and on point as possible. I think the first one I've mentioned several times, like view talent differently. Talent isn't hard skills. Hard skills get outdated quite fast in today's ways of working. So talent, view that rather as soft skills. Like, who is this individual? And does that individual have the right potential for this type of role and to grow with this company. So rather like screening for soft skills, that can be done, as you said, with like psychometric tests. It can be done with screening questions, video interviews. Like there's a bunch of different tools that you can use. It doesn't have to be rocket science, but screening for soft skills. And like, let's kill the CV for now. And then I think as like most recruiters need to find or at least alter ways of working when it comes to sourcing. I think we are like, given where we have come from, where it's like, okay, I need 5 candidates, I have a conversion rate of 1%. That means I have to send out this many emails to candidates to get those people on board. That strategy, like just a pure numbers game, isn't going to work. I think you need to go back to this more like relationship building. Sourcing is a legit profession, not just something like, let's take in a trainee to do that because it's boring. It takes time, skills, and effort. So revisit your like sourcing strategies. And then I think we need to keep in mind that it's not just about finding new talent, because if you lose talent, you're going to have to find even more new talent. I read this survey where approximately like 40% of people in Europe, 50% of people in Sweden are looking to take or change job in 2022. That's good news for a lot of recruiters, but it's also bad news because if they leave your company, you're in trouble. So I think it's also about like treating your existing employees the way that they deserve. Treat them like the candidates that you want to hire. Make sure that you invest in them. If you are willing to pay a candidate more than you're willing to pay your existing employees, I think you need to revisit that a little bit. And then, maybe going back to this fact with like a people strategy, knowing, like having a purpose and having an intent in what you do will hopefully help you know where you should look, where you shouldn't look, what you should commit to, and so forth. So having like a people strategy as a guiding principle. Who do we hire? Who do we not hire? Who do we keep? How do we keep them? And so forth. Is probably going to help you.
Really good points there. Good summary. I like it. And also, as you said, the final note, the people strategy, like your backbone. I'm also thinking about like the future, since talking about the future of HR. Like, okay, what are the next generation stepping in? Like Jen said, that is already on the market delay. Sounds market like they're actually product, but I mean like job market, of course. And they're also stepping into managerial positions, like and this is something I've been thinking a lot about, like how can we retain these persons, these individuals. And I think my perspective on this, and now maybe generalizing a lot, but I think it's a generation that's much more values driven than before. So again, relating to people strategy, to really know like, okay, what are our values as a company? And not only like it's X, Y, Z, it's more like, okay, what are the behaviors around these values that we should promote in our ads when we promote people internally, and also like when you set salaries, like that is something that we're looking into at Jobylon today. Like how can we set salaries not just like on performance, but really live the Jobylon values and behaviors. So again, this consistency along the whole employee journey is super important. Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Louder to the people in the back.
I realize now I can say I see a lot of people writing in the shot here, in the chat.
Not doing shots at lunch.
Not doing shots during lunchtime, hopefully. Maybe that would be fun lunch. So the time is over 30 minutes. So I can just say, like, for those of you who needs to jump out, I can say Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks to Linnea. We're gonna just stay, I guess, 1-2 minutes here just to wrap things up for those of you who have time to stay. We will try to answer the questions we popped in, and for those questions that we do not have time to answer, we will get back to you over email, and of course feel free to connect with Linnea and connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and we can stay in touch that way. So yeah, I thought maybe we could just end this nice session today with correct me if I'm wrong here, Linnea, but I see one question from Christian here that we perhaps could talk about, if that is really a question. So Christian says it's easy for HRM agents to have a pool of employable industry experts. However, some employers can't afford employees. And HR folks have routines of fake posting to establish contact, etc. I don't know if you have any comments on this one, Linnea. I think it's a bit related to what you talked about regarding that.
Am I understanding it correctly? Like you need expertise and it's like expensive to hire those, so you can use like consultants, and then there was something about like people not being honest, or did I misinterpret that?
Don't know if Christian is still here. Good question. Yeah, maybe as that
I can answer the first part, I guess. Like, because I mean, yes, especially for like say startup, you're going to need to either hire more junior people, more like generalists, and then it's even more important to hire for soft skills and hire like for potential, because that's going to keep the costs down. Or you have the alternative of taking in like consultancies, which is going to be more expensive but like less of a risk. So I think, as I see it, I would go back to my people strategy, but also like the company strategy. Where do I actually need, like what is a long-term bet? Okay, maybe I actually need someone in sales that I can train and take it to the next level and be my head of sales in a while. Maybe that's worth investing in hiring someone that I can build up. If it's more like, okay, I need this project done, maybe that's more of a consultancy. I have no idea if I'm answering the question here, but more like thinking to what will have the highest impact, and what is it that is what's actually crucial that for that specific job. I think one thing that we often go wrong is that like the requirements for a role is way too long. Like, honestly, do you really need to have been in that industry for X amount of years when we know that doesn't actually predict performance? Maybe it's more like, okay, I need someone who's freakishly ambitious, that's motivated by our vision and mission, and that is willing to roll up his or her sleeves. Maybe that's the person I hire rather than like, ooh, industry expert.
Yeah.
So it goes back to like what's critical to get the job done in that role.
And maybe long term, it will have a larger effect if you spend time on giving the right training and making sure that person that maybe experience-wise doesn't have everything ticked off, but has the right personality and ambition. Maybe long term that will actually provide more to the company and organization.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think as I said, we will end this very interesting session here, and I saw one more question coming in here from Matilda. Hi, Matilda. How do you get management on board with non-conventional things like scrapping CVs? That was an interesting question.
I think that's a great question. So the short business case for this is, okay, so job performance is normally distributed, meaning most people will end up in the middle of the distribution bell curve. 68% of the people you hire will be average performers. That's a pretty good number. The thing here is, like, if you take an average company, 5% of the employees stand for 26% of the output. this is your business case. If you can find more of those people, that will not just be like, oh, hey, I hired the right people. That will have a ginormous impact on the company results. Hiring the right people is the single most important factor to drive performance. You can do a bunch of things, but this is the thing that's going to make the most impact. And we know from like research that using CVs will favor middle-aged white males with fancy logos. And we know that those aspects doesn't necessarily help the person do a good job. So you want to include methods that actually help you screen in talent that will get the job done. Find more of those 5% that stand for 26% of the output. So I think it's all about like showcasing how extremely important recruitment is, and that there is a lot of ways that you can actually work differently to get better results in less time and have like a more like actually a cheaper recruitment process, but with better outcome and down the line.
I love it, Linnea, that you have like the data on this, because there you have the case. I guess, Matilda, for me it's super clear. So thank you, Linnea, again for all your wisdom and knowledge on this topic. I love it.
You can also send your CEO to me. I'm happy to take the battle with you.
Perfect. You should have a session just about this, Linnea, just like how to create the deck for the pitch.
Exactly. I have a deck.
Great. Send it to me. But again, I don't think we have more questions in the chat right now. So with that being said, thank you, Linnea. Thank you for everyone tuning in. As I said, connect with us and see you soon, hopefully on our 6th episode of the Future of HR with Jobylon, and it will be my colleague Sofia tuning in for that one. So have a great lunch. I'm gonna eat my lunch now, a bit late, but
go eat your lunch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.